The nation's longest-running indoor football league is back for season 16. Well, technically 25 if you count the COVID year and its predecessor league. But even with its longevity, it is not immune to the hardships of indoor football, losing 3 teams to dormancy this past offseason: the Duke City Gladiators, Frisco Fighters, and Sioux Falls Storm. Both the Fighters and Storm came as a bit of a shock for fans, as the Fighters had been one of the most consistently competitive teams since their founding in 2021, and the Storm was one of the nation's oldest franchises, having been founded in 2000 and been a founding member of the league and 7-time league champion. Duke City, however, was not as surprising, having struggled since shipping away quarterback Nate Davis in 2023. The Arizona Rattlers are the league's reigning champions, and one of the most iconic indoor franchises in the nation. Based out of the Phoenix area, the Rattlers have history dating all the way back to 1992 in the original Arena Football League, where they collected 5 Arena Bowls before making the jump to the IFL in 2017, where they have collected an additional 2 championships, counting just this past season. Coached by one of the nation's longest tenured coaches, Kevin Guy, who has been with the team since 2008 and has indoor experience as both a player and coach dating all the way back to 1996. Having lost last year's starting quarterback Dalton Snead to retirement, they have returned an old face in 3-time league MVP Drew Powell, who spent this last season in the 2024 AFL reboot, completing 108 of his 160 passes for 1,312 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions in 6 games for the Orlando Predators. They've also picked up wide receiver and return specialist Elijah Lilly, who tallied up 517 yards and 7 touchdowns on 44 receptions last season, to go along with over 1,000 yards and 5 scores through returns. Well, on defense, they have resigned defensive back Devontae Merriweather, who has received both Defensive Player of the Year and All-League honors throughout his soon-to-be 7-year tenure with the team. In the regular season, the Bay Area Panthers did not take a step back from the championship season in 2023, garnering the league's best record at 13-3, though falling early in the postseason. Hailing from San Jose, they continue a history of arena success in the Bay Area, first started by the iconic San Jose SaberCats. Though they would initially suffer an abysmal inaugural season in 2022, where they won just their inaugural game before losing the next 15, they have not looked back since. Coached by third-year head coach Rob Keefe, he looks to sustain their success and make it back to the championship. They too have the task of replacing last year's starting quarterback, as he was lured away in free agency. They have, however, managed to do similar, luring reigning Rookie of the Year quarterback Josh Jones to the squad. Last season, he managed to compile nearly 3,000 yards, 56 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions, while adding an additional 21 scores on the ground. To pair with him, they have signed former FCS All-American Tyrese Chambers and Temple product Amada Anderson. And on defense, they have re-signed second-team All-League DB Joe Fancha. Additionally, they sort of also have an ace up their sleeve, as 2 defensive linemen are away on CFL contracts, in Elias Bell and Damon Williams, and they will reclaim those rights if they are released. The Fishers Freight are the new kids on the block. That being said, they found themselves an old head to lead the way. Dixie Wooten, a 2-time IFL Coach of the Year and 2-time MVP coacher, was named as the first head coach in team history. Located in the Indianapolis suburb of Fishers, they share ownership with the local East Coast Hockey League team, and are the area's first major indoor team since the Indiana Firebirds closure in 2004. At quarterback, they have brought in Sam Houston State product Keegan Shoemaker, who threw for over 2,500 yards and 15 touchdowns in 2023. They then signed former 2023 All-League wide receiver JT Stokes, who has collected over 50 touchdowns in his IFL career. And on defense, they signed 2023 second-team All-League defensive lineman Jalen Swan, away from Quad City. The Green Bay Blizzards surprised last season, completing their first double-digit win season in over a decade. Head coach Corey Robinson getting his second winning season and Coach of the Year award, as he heads into his 7th year with the team. Moving to the IFL in 2010, the Blizzards themselves date back to 2003 through the AF2, and indoor football as a whole in Green Bay dates back to 1998 with the Green Bay Bombers of the Professional Indoor Football League and Original Indoor Football League. On offense, they have made key retentions in quarterbacks Max Maylor and receivers Harry Ballard, Demetrius Moore, and Lowell Parton, who combined for over 150 receptions, nearly 2,000 yards, and 35 touchdowns, while bringing back former 2-time All-League DB Mwandu Mavai, who spent the last 2 seasons as a member of the Massachusetts Pirates. Though not technically the same Iowa Barnstormers that were once led by NFL Hall of Famer Kurt Warner, The revived Barnstormers have now lasted more than twice as long, heading into their 18th season. After a great 5-year stretch from 2017 to 2022 that included a championship and 2 MVPs, the team has hit a rough patch these last 2 seasons, going combined 8-24. Head coach Dave Moggensen enters his 4th year with the team and hopes to rekindle that success. Having had trouble under center these last few years, they have done a complete reset, bringing in rookies Niles McLaughlin and Joaquin Calazo. McLaughlin coming by way of in-state Wartburg College, where he was a 2-time all-conference player with a career 68 touchdowns, and Calazo coming from Bethel University, where he was a 2-year starter, passing for a career 66 touchdowns. To pair with whoever wins the job, they have retained the services of Kion Williams, who hauled in 66 receptions for 840 yards and 18 touchdowns last season. They also made their biggest signing, retaining 2024 Special Teams Player of the Year kicker Gabe Rui, who made 20 field goals, 70 PATs, and 12 deuces for the team last year. The Jacksonville Sharks made their long sought-after entrance into the IFL this past season, after a 7-year-long exodus in the National Arena League after their exit from the Arena Football League. Founded in 2010 as a member of the new Arena Football League, their transition from arena ball to indoor ball did not go as smoothly as now 3rd-year head coach Jason Gibson would have liked, going from NAL champions to 5-11 and outside the playoffs. Though things did turn around at the end of the season, with the key signing of quarterback Caleb Barker, who went 3-1 down the stretch, with 538 yards and 14 touchdowns, and whose services have been retained. They have also went out of their way to improve their backfield with the signing of the league's sole 1,000-yard rusher in Jimmy Robinson, as well as the league's 3rd leading running back in Eddie Vander, for a backfield with a combined 1,700 yards and 57 touchdowns last season. While in defense, they have made a complete overhaul, including the signing of all-league defensive lineman Noah Lyles, away from Tulsa. The Massachusetts Pirates had moderate success in their first season in Lowell, before getting hot in the postseason but falling in the title game. Founded in 2018 in Worcester, Massachusetts for the NAL, the Pirates have always been successful, not once suffering a losing season, and winning the title in their first season in the IFL in 2021. First-year head coach Fred Griggs will have a little bit of work ahead of him though, as he has to replace longtime starting quarterback Alejandro Benefield, who retired this past offseason. But he has seemed to have done it with the signing of former USFL starter Kenji Behar. They have also made his job easy by retaining the 3-headed attack of wide receivers Thomas Owens, Tio Redding, and Isaac Zicko, who combined for 149 receptions for just over 1,700 yards and 43 touchdowns last year. And on defense, they were able to convince former NFL first-round pick and heart of the defense Matt Elam to forego retirement and return for another year. The Northern Arizona Wranglers shocked the indoor world 2 years ago when they went from worst to first, winning the IFL National Championship in just their 2nd season. Based out of Prescott Valley, they are the league's 2nd of 3 Arizona franchises, and the location's 3rd indoor team in its history, after the Arizona Adrenaline that played 2 seasons, one in 2008 in the American Indoor Football Association, and the other in 2011 in the IFL, and the Arizona Outlaws who played in 2012 in the AIF. This offseason, they hired 2-time AFL Coach of the Year Ron James to lead the team. With him, they have done a complete roster overhaul, first with the quarterback competition between Kentucky Wesleyan's Christian Armabide, who is coming off a season as the Finnish Maple League's Offensive Player of the Year, where he threw for just under 3,500 yards and 38 touchdowns, and Arizona native CJ Fowler, who spent last season in Norway, where he put up a 22-touchdown and only 2-interception campaign. While the new receiving core includes KV Vaughn out of Mexico's LFA, and 2023 Packers camp invite Jadakis Bonds, and former Iowa Hawkeye Arlen Bruce. While on defense, the hiring of an ex-Quad City staff member allowed them to acquire DBs Bikembe Kearney and Gregory Filler. The Quad City Steamwheelers took a step back last season, though this was not surprising as they lost their only signal caller they've ever known in quarterback E.J. Hilliard. Based in Moline, Illinois and founded in 2018, they get their name from the original AF2 franchise that was owned by arena inventor Jim Foster that lasted from 2000 to 2009. Longtime head coach Corey Ross seems to have steadied the ship though, as they signed former league MVP DeQuan Neal to take over under center. To pair with him, they have retained longtime target Kayvon Rudd, who has accumulated 3,700 yards, 61 touchdowns, and 1 all-league selection in his Steamwheelers career. The Wheelers have also retained all-league kicker Kyle Kaplan, who kicked 27 field goals, 74 PATs, and 2 deuces last season. The San Antonio Gunslingers lived up to their name in their first season in the IFL, with the league's second highest scoring offense, but the league's worst scoring defense, as they too struggled to make the conversion from arena to indoor ball, but finished with a record of 8-8. They get their name from the former USFL franchise. Originally founded as a member of the American Arena League in 2021, they made the move to the NAL for the past 2 seasons, before finally making the jump to the IFL. And with this season of play, they will become the longest-running indoor team in the city's history, as the AFL's San Antonio Talents only lasted 4. Second-year head coach Tom Manasse will however have to do it without his safety blanket and IFL Offensive Player of the Year Sam Castronova, as he made his move back to Albany and Arena Football 1, and his replacement is currently up in the air. That being said, the receiving core is still in good hands as they retained all-league player Daquan Murray and poached Glenn Gibbons from the Rattlers. And on defense, they even made improvements, signing 2024 Defensive Player of the Year Ravarius Rivers. The San Diego Strike Force continue to trend in the correct direction. Their 10-6 record, their best yet. Playing their first season in 2019, they looked to fill the void left by the Chargers' absence, becoming the third indoor team from the area after the AF2's Riptide and NIFL's Shockwaves. Third-year head coach Taylor Gunnisser made the first move to keep it heading in the right direction by re-signing veteran indoor quarterback Nate Davis, who threw for 74 touchdowns last season. They then added veteran kicker Ernesto Locoyo, who has even spent time in the spring leagues of the AAF and XFL, and then added all-league DB Elijah Reed, who tallied up 93 tackles, 2 interceptions, 10 pass deflections, and 4 forced fumbles last season. The Tucson Sugar Skulls look to bounce back from the franchise's worst ever season since their founding in 2019 as the area's first ever major indoor team. First-year head coach Billy Back looks towards veteran leadership to help rebound, with the signing of former 2-time league MVP Charles McCollum at quarterback, who has thrown for over 350 touchdowns in his career and ran for another 80. They also signed dynamic running back and former All-League player Devontae Saplinch, who is most famously the brother of the former Seattle Star. The Tulsa Oilers enter their 3rd season and are primed for their best yet. Founded in 2023, they were the area's first indoor team since the AFL's Tulsa Talents left for San Antonio in 2012, named after the ECHL team with whom they share an ownership group. Third-year head coach Marvin Jones has made quite the splash picking up the pieces of the Frisco Fighters' dormancy, most notably with the signing of former league MVP TJ Edwards at quarterback, but also with the signing of wideout Cole Blackman. To pair with him, they also brought back one of the team's leading targets in Joshua Crockett. On defense, they were also able to bring back lockdown corner Katron Allen, who had 11 pass breakups last season. The Vegas Nighthawks are the final team for this upcoming season, and the third owned by a hockey ownership group, though this one is obviously the strongest, as they share ownership with the NHL's Golden Knights. 2024 marked the first winning season for Mike Davis's squad, that first arrived in 2022, filling a void left since the Las Vegas Outlaws collapse in 2015. They look to have another strong season, retaining much of their roster, most importantly reigning league MVP Jerome Johnson, but also all-rookie linebacker Makeel Calhoun. They also brought back an all-league and an all-rookie offensive lineman in Moses Mallory and Kevin Toot. Season kicks off this Friday as the Jacksonville Sharks take on the Massachusetts Pirates on the league's new controversial streaming service, the IFL Network. Paywalled behind a $30 season pass or $10 monthly pass, though there is at least a 30-day free trial. The regular season will last 19 weeks, followed by an 8-team playoff, where 4 teams would come from each conference, and culminate in the 2025 IFL National Championship on August 23rd in Tucson, Arizona.